Welcome. This is the transition on Atlantic Television. Kidnappers have escaped with bullet injuries after they abandoned their vehicle and fled into a nearby bush in Asaba, Delta State, which occurred at Oko Market Road, Asaba. Delta State Police Public Relations Officer SP Bright Edafe, who confirmed in a statement on Sunday, said 8 rounds of AR live ammunition and 21 rounds of live cartridges concealed under the suspect's engine compartment. The police image maker said, acting on a distress call from the command's control room over a kidnap incident along DLA Road in Asaba, were fought by the hoodlums. The Commissioner of Police, CP Olufemi Abaniwanda, upon receipt of this information, directed the command's Special Anti-Kidnapping and Cybercrime Squad to ensure that the hoodlums are arrested and the victims rescued. Edafe said CP Olufemi Abaniwanda had assured residents that the command would go all out to ensure that the fleeing suspects were arrested and brought to book. Organized labor unions in Cross River State are set to embark on an indefinite strike over the non-implementation of the new minimum wage by the state government. The Cross River State chairman of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Gregory Olayi, who disclosed on this, said workers would begin the strike at midnight on Sunday if the government failed to implement the 70,000 from proceeding with the strike if necessary. Unknown government has returned to Uchima village in Isala Ngwa, North Local Government of Abia State, and killed a male indigene of the community who was alleged to have provided information to the army about their existence in the community. This is coming after the Nigerian army had on Tuesday announced that the troops of Joko Nobi Road when the hoodlums attacked the VIP's convoy unprovoked, leading to a retaliation, and the operatives resisted the armed men operating in a grey-colored Lexus and an ash-colored Toyota Highlander who attacked their convoy unprovoked. He said during the gun duel, the swift response by the joint security team, he is not worried about the 2026 governorship election in the state. Speaking at the monthly evening of praise and worship at the Jibowu Hall, Government House, Oyebanji disclosed that he often received text messages from politicians expressing fear over the 2026 election, adding that he would not lose sleep over the development as God is in control. No fewer than 56 bodies have been recovered from the boat management agency. Justin Uwazuronye said they recovered dead after the National Inland Waterways Authority confirmed the boat accident on Friday. The head of NIMWA's media department, Suleiman Makama, also said the incident happened when the traders were traveling to a market in Niger State on the boat when it capsized along the Dambo-Ibuchi section of the River Niger. Meanwhile, Kogi State Governor Usman Odo dangers of the waterway linking Kogi with Niger State. Ododo, in a statement by his special advisor on media, Ishmael Issa, expressed sadness over the accident, saying he was concerned that most of the victims were women, petty traders and artisans involved in legitimate business activities, and called on the relevant authorities to ensure the safety measures were put in place to minimize risks associated with water transportation in the country. Governor Ododo commiserated with the families of those involved in the accident, promising that the government would support those injured in their recuperation. Now, Kwara State government has once again warned environmental offenders to desist immediately, stating that anyone caught failing to observe the monthly sanitation exercise will face the full consequences of the law. The State Commissioner for Environment, Nafisat Boj, issued the warning in Ilorin during the monthly sanitation exercise held across the state. A statement released by the press secretary of the ministry, Kamaluddin Aliaga, later still dared to break the law by engaging in activities such as operating commercial motorcycles and tricycles, as well as market women selling their goods illegally during sanitation hours. However, the commissioner expressed satisfaction with the success of the exercise, stating that it would continue to improve until full compliance from residents is achieved, and also reassured the public that the current administration will not relent in its efforts to maintain a clean city. Troops of the 6th Britain Olubondude Oni, Acting Assistant Director, 6th Brigade Army Public Relations, in a statement said the troops working under the leadership of Brigadier General Kingsley Chidieberewa engaged the bandits in a fierce firefight and overwhelmed them with superior firepower, and forcing their bandit camps were destroyed, and troops recovered 27 rounds of 7.62 mm special ammunition, 1 AK-47 magazine, 1 handheld Bofeng radio, and 2 motorcycles. The commander's 6th Brigade, Brigadier General Kingsley Chidieberewa, expressed gratitude for the unwavering support of local communities and encouraged them to remain vigilant while continuing to provide timely information to security agencies. In the Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. This is Atlantic Television Network. Now the rest of our stories. President Bola Tinubu has said that the removal of the oil subsidy by his administration was not to torment Nigerians but to save the country from total collapse. The president disclosed the subsidy removal on the day of his inauguration on May 29, 2023, said the policy had been yielding positive results for the country. Tinubu stated this in his address at the 34th and 35th combined convocation ceremonies of the Federal University of Technology, Akure, Ondo State. Represented by the Vice Chancellor of the University of Ilorin, Professor Wahab Egbewole, the president said his administration was not aware of the suffering of the people, but expressed assurance that there would be light at the end of the tunnel. He also said there was need to salvage the future of our children and bring the country back from the brink of collapse, necessitated the strategic decisions to remove the fuel subsidy and also unify the exchange rates. He condemned the exodus of youths to overseas countries in search of greener pastures, saying such action was not the solution to the country's problems. Former Vice President and 2023 presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, has called for transparency and fairness in the national and published the resolutions of the National Economic Council, describing it as a crucial advisory body for Nigeria's economic affairs. Atiku's remark come amid widespread debate over the tax reform bills, with Nigerians raising concerns about the potential implications of the reform bills on economic justice and regional development. Indigenous people of Biafra has disassociated itself, from the purported declaration of the Biafra Republic by some members of the Finland-based group, describing it as a scam. The pro-Biafran group urged the people to ignore the declaration, saying those involved in the event in Finland were among the sponsors of insecurity in Nigeria's southeast region. A statement issued by the IPOB spokesperson Ima Powerful on Sunday said the agenda of those who made the declaration in Finland was to destabilize the southeast, divide the people, cause panic, and divert the attention of Biafrans and those sympathetic to the Biafran struggle. According to him, there is no room for another Biafra declaration after what late leader Dim Ojukwu declared in 1967, insisting that all those involved in the declaration in Finland are criminals and fake agents, adding that IPOB is calling for a United Nations supervised referendum for Biafrans so that the declared sovereignty can be restored. Leaders of the People's Democratic Party have asked members of the National Executive Committee to gather two-thirds support and convene a meeting to address matters hindering the party's progress. A former national secretary of the party, Umar Ibrahim Tasiru, and a senior party member said they expected PDP governors to rally two-thirds of the NEC members to convene a meeting and address issues related to party unity, adding that the delay in convening by acting national chairman of the party, Umar, the ward and state congresses, and also tasked the North Central caucus of the party to consult on Damagom's replacement. The 99th NEC meeting, originally set for August 15th, was delayed to October 24th, 2024, then rescheduled to November 28, 2024, before being postponed indefinitely, while the PDP Governors Forum led by Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed instructed the Dagom-led NWC to organize the meeting by the first week of February 2025 at the latest. The group also said in the PDP 2017 Constitution, as amended Section 331, states that the quorum of the National Executive Committee shall be two-thirds of the membership drawn from at least two-thirds of the zones in the Federation, and a simple majority shall pass any motion. United Nations Children Fund Nigeria representative Ms. Christiane Mundet has called on media practitioners to be more thorough in reporting issues relating to children. Mundet, who disclosed this in Lagos at a symposium organized by UNICEF in collaboration with the Nigerian Guild of Editors, said the symposium was part of the activities to mark the 2024 World Children's Day and had the theme reinforcing the role of media in mainstream child rights. The event had stakeholders in the media industry, eminent journalists, broadcasters, senior government officials from the Ministry of Education, representatives from the private sector, influencers, and advocates present, while the stakeholders were engaged in 3 panel sessions where they addressed critical issues facing children. Nate also said journalists needed to give priority to anything that's related to children through their quality investigative reports and going beyond the individual story and following through, adding that the media can communicate deeply with the people through which they can inform society about the true state of children. The UNICEF Nigeria representative cited grim data on the state of Nigerian children, saying that 1 in 2 children live in poverty and 41 newborns out of 1,000 births do not survive due to complications and teenage pregnancies, stressing that 40% of children aged 5 are stunted due to malnutrition, which affects their intellectual capacity for life. And now to some business reports. Federal government has raised the amount small businesses could access on single-digit loans to 5 million naira to ensure the country's inclusive economic growth. The Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, Bank of Industries, Dr. Olasupo Olusi, disclosed this during a town hall sensitization in Lagos on the federal government grant and loan scheme. The event was organized by the Federal Ministry of Finance in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, the Presidency, Bank of Industry and other stakeholders. Olusi, represented by Umar Shekaru, Executive Director, MSMEs, pardon me please, BOL, praised President Bola Tinubu for the availability of 200 billion naira presidential intervention fund for micro, small and medium enterprises. He said 75 billion naira out of the presidential conditional grant and loan scheme was targeted for MSMEs, adding that the initiative was expected to create thousands of direct and indirect jobs nationwide, and the fund, facilitated through the Bank of Industry nationwide, was already sitting in the bank ready to be disbursed to beneficiaries at just 9% interest. And thousands of emergency personnel have been deployed to assist with rescues, while 679 shelters have been established to accommodate those displaced. The northeastern state of Kelantan, bordering Thailand, is the most affected, accounting for 63% of the displaced population, while other affected states include Terengganu, Kedah, Perlis, Negiri Sembilan, Selangor, had barred cabinet members from taking leave to ensure that government's focus remains on managing the crisis. This year's flood have already displaced more people than the devastating 2014 disaster, which was among Malaysia's worst in recent history. And the current monsoon season, which began in November, is expected to exacerbate the situation further. Russia carried out a series of airstrikes. It said 5 people were killed in a strike on a hospital in Aleppo, while a strike inside the northwest city of Idlib killed 8 civilians and wounded more than 50 people. Warplanes also struck rural parts of Idlib and Hama, where the group leading the rebel offensive has recently taken control. And the Syrian government has lost control of Aleppo for the first time since the country's civil war began. The surprise offensive by opposition forces, which began on Wednesday, marks the most significant fighting in Syria's civil war in recent years, and it has been led by the Islamist militant group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, as well as allied fractions backed by Turkey. Russian strikes hit Aleppo for the first time since 2016 on Saturday as rebel fighters swept into Aleppo, Syria's second largest city, and the Russian Air Force played a significant role in keeping President Bashar al-Assad in power during the peak of the civil war. Georgia's pro-Western president says she will stay in post until new parliamentary elections are held as protests continue the government's decision to put European Union access negotiations on hold. Salome Zurabichvili, who has sided with the opposition, described the current parliament as illegitimate after allegations of fraud in last month's election, adding that she would retain her role as president despite the country's newly elected parliament saying it would choose her replacement on 14th December. Mass protests in the capital are continuing against protesters into the early hours of Sunday as they try to potentially heralding a shift in the foreign NATO country bordering Ukraine. The parliamentary poll comes at a time of political turmoil sparked when a top court ordered a recount of the first round of the separate presidential election on November 24th. The presidential ballot was won by Colin Georgescu, a little-known far-right admirer of Russian President Vladimir Putin. A runoff in that poll is slated for December 8th. Despite accusations of Russian influence and alleged interference via TikTok, Sunday's parliamentary elections went ahead as planned, and Romania's political landscape has been shaped by 2 major parties for the past 3 decades. Now to entertainment. Nigerian comedian Funny Bone has narrated how his friendship with a lady ended. Funny Bone, in a post on his Instagram page, said their relationship ended because of Pastor Jerry Eze's